This video is about climate change. I'm Dani Davies and I'm the All-In Party candidate for the Hatch Warren and Beggarwood Borough Council seat, and I hope to represent you alongside your current All-In Borough Councillor, Stacey Hart. At the All-In Party, protecting our planet is something we care deeply about, and it's also something that I'm personally passionate about and I want to make a real difference on if I'm lucky enough to become Borough Councillor. When we first set up All In, we were clear that this had to be a priority because the truth is simple. You can't have equality on a planet that's dying. For the last 3 years, we've worked closely with our friends at the Green Party. You might remember our vegan cooking event or have seen our joint information stands across the town. Councillor Stacey Hart and Councillor Johnny Jenkin also set up a repair cafe in 2024, helping people fix household items instead of throwing them away. Because of this collaborative working relationship and because they are confident in our environmental policy credentials, the Green Party have stood down their election candidates in Hatch Warren and Beggarwood and have endorsed us for the last 3 years, as you can see. Residents can be confident that protecting our planet is one of our core priorities. So today I want to talk about something that often gets missed, that climate change isn't just an environmental issue, it's also an economic issue that affects money in your pocket. Have you ever thought about how climate change might be impacting your bills? It might seem like something that only affects nature or wildlife, but actually it directly affects the cost of energy, food, and heating our homes. Let me explain. Experts speaking at the National Emergency Briefing have shown that climate change and our reliance on fossil fuels are already pushing up the cost of living. In fact, it was made worse because we didn't move away from fossil fuels earlier. Inflation would have been 7% lower if the UK had decarbonised our power system sooner, and 11% lower if we had switched to cleaner heating earlier. And it's not just our energy bills, our food system is heavily tied to fossil fuels too. Fertilizer prices, which depend on gas, rose by 400% during the energy crisis, pushing up the cost of food in supermarkets. That's because when gas prices spike globally, households here in the UK are forced to pay the price. So, investing in greener energy isn't just good for the environment, it protects households from those price shocks. You might hear some political parties say that we should scrap net zero and deprioritize climate and environmental policy, and that we can't focus on the climate until we fix the economy. They argue that net zero is pushing up bills and damaging the economy, and we can just plant more trees and recycle more. Tree planting and recycling are good things to do, and we should absolutely do them, but they don't solve the underlying problem, which is that our economy still depends heavily on fossil fuels. The real economic choice isn't between net zero and prosperity, it's between building a more resilient, affordable energy system or staying stuck in one that leaves households struggling to pay their bills. So I want to leave you with something important. Experts speaking at the National Emergency Briefing have been very clear. The cost of doing nothing on climate change massively outweighs the costs of taking action. The real economic risk isn't climate action, it's failing to act. Because when we delay, we don't just harm the environment, we leave ourselves exposed to global fossil fuel price shocks, rising energy bills, and instability we can't control. We saw that when the gas prices surged after Russia invaded Ukraine, and households in the UK paid the price. Yes, recycling helps. Yes, planting trees helps. But those things on their own are simply not enough to deal with a crisis that affects our energy systems, our food prices, and the cost of living. At All In, we bring an equality lens to everything we do because equality makes life better for everyone. And climate change is an equality issue because when energy prices spike, when food prices rise, when extreme weather hits communities, it's the low income households who feel it first and the hardest. That's why the solution isn't to ignore the problem, it's to build a fairer, cleaner economy that protects people as well as the planet. That's why the solution isn't to ignore the problem, it's to build a fairer, cleaner economy that protects people as well as the planet. That means supporting renewable energy, improving home energy efficiency, backing local repair and reuse initiatives like Stacey and Johnny's Repair Cafe, and working with other parties who take the climate crisis seriously. Because the goal is simple, a future where people are better off, communities are stronger, and our planet is still healthy enough for the next generation. And that's exactly the kind of future that the All In Party is fighting for. Thanks for watching.